Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to yet another exciting edition of HR Mentorship Learning Series. And today we are going to the roots. This topic we'll be looking at is building an HR department from the scratch. Sometimes I'm confused. Should it be an HR department or but let's leave it. Building an HR department from the scratch, from the beginning. And today we have a facilitator, one of us from the HR mentorship, who is known by the name Idarasit Mercedes Ayeni. Okay, just for the purpose and benefit of everyone on this call, I'll just read a little about her so that we can get better acquainted with her and also pay more attention as she shares from her wealth of wisdom and experience. Idarasit is a global human resource professional with a robust cross-industry background that spans agriculture, logistics, aviation, travels and tours, and telecommunications. She holds an MBA, Masters in Business Administration with specialization in human resource management. Okay, she is also an alumnus of the prestigious Lagos Business School Executive Education Program, and she's a member of the International Professionals Managers Association, United Kingdom. Idara is the founder of Star Guide HR Consulting Limited. She's a strategic business partner and catalyst for innovation that addresses today's organizational challenges of attracting and retaining talent, attaining revenue goals, satisfying clients, controlling expenses while achieving business and profitable objectives. She's adept at driving change, and she's accomplished in the area of championing corporate values, the mission and vision, and of course, achievement of the operational objectives. Outside HR, she thrives as a United Nations Sustainable Goals advocate and volunteers as a liaison officer at the Consent Workshop, where she aids the deconstruction of rape culture in Nigeria through consent education, breaking the silence of sexual abuse, and fostering a positive sex culture among youth. She views it as an opportunity to help girls, ladies, and women recover from such traumatizing experience. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm excited that today we have on the table live the virtual lecture on the platform, Idarasit Mercedes Ayeni. Thank you for coming, and you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Adeosun. It's a privilege to be here. And hello to everyone on the call. Like you said, my name is Idarasit Mercedes Ayeni, and I'm honored to be in your midst today. So without much ado, we'll just dive into it. What we're talking about today is building a HR department from scratch. And as we know, getting into this cycle, like if you're employed in an organization and there's already a structured HR department, you might not know how to get down to business in the sense of you having to know the nitty-gritty, getting your hands dirty. So that's what we're actually learning here today. How do we build something that lasts? Most of us, or some of us, might be in HR, while others might not be. So we know that HR acts as the middleman between management and employees. That is the layman's definition. HR goes beyond that. Even as acting as a middleman, what are you actually doing? You're not just relaying messages, you're actually formulating and implementing procedures. You're looking at the business, maybe how you can sustain it via the people, the human capital. That is what we do as HR. So today we'll look at how to actually lay the foundation of the human resource department. Go. Okay. Now, so this is what we should expect today. This is an overview. So we look at the foundation. What should you do? What should you do? How should you prepare yourself as HR? Perhaps you're a seasoned HR professional, or you're fresh in HR and you just stumbled on the opportunity to actually build the HR department. What skills should you actually have in what skills should you actually have with you, like in you? And then we're looking at strategic alignment. How should we hold management's hand? What should management know? How do we get management's buy-in? And then we'll also move to the HR roadmap, which actually talks about the inflow, stay, and outflow of the human resource in the organization. Lastly, look at pitfalls to avoid. So now, the foundation is strategic alignment. Before we even get to management, let's talk about you, yourself. As HR, you must possess various skills. You must be multi-talented, have multiple skill sets in your valor. You must be proficient in communication. You must proficient in organizing. You must know the nitty-gritty of HR, the recruitment, talent acquisition, regards recruitment, selection, employee relations, performance management, the whole 9 yards. So for you to actually build a department, you have to have built your own knowledge bank as HR. Build your skills, build your expertise. Even if you are fresh, know what it takes to be HR. Know what HR entails. HR is not just about liking people or people liking you. It's far more than that. In fact, if you're in HR, chances of people liking you is very slim, because of your actual core. You have to be able to, your administration must be on point. You must be organized as HR. You must have business acumen. Know what the business stands for. If you go into an organization, you need to actually know what they do. What do they do? Why do they do it? Okay, and how can we be profitable? Gone are the days when HR used to be in the background, just taking attendance and acting like the police or the CEO's watchdog. HR goes beyond that. Now HR is into analytics. Yes, we're actually into engagement. Engagement is not just about birthdays and work anniversaries. It's about feeling the pulse of the employees in the organization. How are we doing? Where are we right now? Where are we supposed to go? What do we need to do in between? How do we bridge the gap? Yes, we have digital literacy. What are the tools that we can use in the organization that will actually make us scale? And these might not just be HR tools, collaborative tools. Do you know the latest tool that can help with your marketing team scale? Talk about it. Knowing the HR tools to use is very, very important. And you should try to digitize as much as possible. You know the age we are in now. It goes, short of saying that we're in the digital age, you must actually know what is obtainable. Are you still using paper? Or have you transitioned to paperless or semi-paperless? What actually works for your organization? Are you culturally aware? Now, when you get into an organization, each organization has its own culture, different from our own culture as individuals. How do we align? How flexible are you? If you get into the industry, the aviation industry, you have to change. You have to change something about you. Maybe the way you speak or the way you address the management. It could also be different in another industry, maybe telecommunications or even consulting. You have to be fluid. You have to be flexible as HR. All right. You have to be also proactive. You have to be proactive. You have to know how to ensure that there is team engagement, ensure that the managers are actually in line with their subordinates, not that the goals are set and then the subordinates don't know what to do, or they're not even being told. So our goal as HR is actually to tutor or coach the managers. That's how you get yourself prepared. You can get yourself prepared also by listening to podcasts, joining groups, just like this HR mentorship group and other groups as well. Are you certified? You should go for classes, go for training, upskill. Our industry is dynamic. We can't afford to be static. If you're not taking one HR course, at least one HR course, when I mean course, I mean at least maybe this kind of session, or even through HR.com. There are lots of resources for HR people to actually build themselves. You're not taking at least one in 2 months, you're doing yourself a disfavor, because you're going to wake up one day and see that you're a dinosaur. Your industry has moved. Even your organization has moved, they've left you behind. So when they ask you to bring suggestions, you're bringing things of 2010. This is 2023, that's 2010. How are you building yourself? We must do that as HR professionals. The next is stakeholder engagement. The next in strategic alignment is stakeholder engagement. If you see this picture, it talks about agreement. The agreement, if there is no agreement, I mean, it's bound to fail. Now you've been employed to run the HR department, and then you just want to start doing things. You go with your guns blazing. I just want to say, you can't just dive in to the HR roadmap. Recruitment, performance management. No, you need to understand the system, understand the organization. Who are we? What is our mission? What is our vision? Who are our competitors? What are they doing? Why do you need a HR department? Who asked for this to be set up? You know, that way you can know who is who. That's way you understand the organization structure. You know, someone has a title in the organization doesn't mean that they have influence. The first thing you want to do is understand the organization, read the people, read the room. In as much as you want to talk every time, you shouldn't. You should do more of listening. Both the verbal, look for verbal and non-verbal cues. That is what you will pick up. There's some things that management will communicate to you. There's some things that they'll be silent about. So I mean words now, but their actions will speak. Discuss the core activities. What are our products? Where are we now? What are prospects? Who do you want to become in the nearest future? Yes, what are the challenges? You should talk to your CEO or your line manager, whoever you're reporting to. What have been the challenges with HR regarding people management? What is closest to your heart? Now, you don't want to start setting up the department thinking, okay, let me just start with policies. You need to understand before you start with policies. Or let me start with recruitment. Oh, there are no recruitment forms, but the pain of management might be employee engagement. So if you're not having those conversations with management, you will not thrive. You will not thrive. Another thing you should do while engaging your stakeholders is to discuss the organization culture. How do we do things here? Remember what I said earlier, that there are written and unwritten rules. Learn the written and unwritten rules. Read your department, read your organization. Read the organization. You really need to understand them, understand the way they think, understand how your line manager thinks. Talk about things like, how would you like us to communicate? Very easy. What mode do you prefer? Email is official, yes. But which one gets you faster? For someone like me, for my line managers, I send an email and I send a WhatsApp message. They're closer to their phones. Boss, I've sent this. I've sent this. Kindly check your email. I had to learn that, because sometimes you just send an email and go to sleep. Or you keep wondering, they haven't answered me yet. Or maybe my manager is angry with me. Maybe he hasn't even seen it, or she hasn't seen it. Or she doesn't really check her email. She's so busy. So ask for the quickest mode of communication. How can I get you? When can I get you? Yes. Understand the employee demographics. What is the composition of our people? Do we have baby boomers, or Gen X, Gen Y, Gen Z? Okay, what works for them? So this part might actually take you 2 to 3 weeks, because you are taking notes. This is where you empower yourself. This is where you tell yourself, okay, this is the pain of the organization. This is what I need to do. This is what is important to my line manager. Talk about your first 30 days. What do you want to see in the first 30 days? What is important to you right now? That way you will not be going blind. You will not shoot in the dark. And then you need to have management support. You need to have management support. I move very quickly. The next step is human capital planning. So now you understand the organization, what they do, who they are, where they want to be, the challenges. Okay, you have an idea of that. Now you want to begin to align your HR, align with corporate strategies. Okay, how does HR come in? What can HR actually do? How will HR position herself or himself or itself? What's important? What is the oil that our department should run on? You then go on to formulate a mission statement. Do you have a mission statement? Does your department have a mission statement? You must have a mission statement. I have one in my department. Whenever I go to an organization, if there's one on the wall already in the HR department, I read it and I imbibe. If there's none, I talk to management. I try to see what is important to us in the organization. And then I build out one, I print one, and I place it on the wall so that at least once a week I read it to check if I'm in line. HR can be so fast-paced that you can forget who you are. Your mission statement reminds you of who you are. There are times that your workload is getting to you and then you forget yourself. Your mission statement reminds you of who you are, what you want to achieve, where you want to go, how you want to actually drive the people's strategy of the organization. From there, you forecast the HR service delivery. How are we doing this? Is it digital? What's the channel? What's the channel? Don't forget that you've already asked your questions. You're still asking. You will keep asking. You must not stop asking. What have we been doing before? Okay, sometimes people don't have a formal HR department, but they have been doing something on the ground. Somebody has been manning a function somewhere, even if it's just onboarding. They might not know it's onboarding because they're not HR. You might just think it's just basic admin. Basic admin must be on ground. What exactly do we have? How has the service been delivered? Or how are we going to deliver this service? Are we going to get a HR system in place? How soon can we get one? Of course, you know that will have to come after management has actually seen your stuff. They felt you, they've seen your templates, they've seen your policies, they've seen everything before you begin to talk about the HR system. Sometimes you could get into a place and then management, there's already a HR system waiting for you without HR. It could be a forward-thinking organization. They want you to run paperless. Some people tend to think that the HRIS, the HR system actually replaces HR. It's not so. It can never be so. So if you feel like if you talk about the HR system, your management might want to lay you off. No, that's wrong. It actually only helps you to run the administrative part of HR. Then we move to staff planning. That's the next thing for you to do, human capital planning or workforce planning. You have to review the designations. What are the job titles? Are there JDs? Some organizations don't have JDs. Some employees don't know what to do part-time. Who are the people that should fit this role? What's the job specification? What's the hierarchy? Who reports to who? Those lines, organogram must be there. You should at least know them and then tailor it to the organization. Map it out, make it plain for them if they don't have one. You conduct job analysis. You're trying to review what the job entails. It's not like performance management. No, you're not analyzing the person. You're actually analyzing the job. We want to know the nitty-gritty, the conditions. What are the qualifications for the role? What qualification, how many years of experience for that role? What are the skills needed to harness the role? That is what you need to know. Create a job or conduct a job analysis. You can send out a survey, you can send out a questionnaire, you can do so through observation, interviews. So in one of my lives, when I had to set up the HR department, for this, aside sending out questionnaires, I actually went to sit down with the team to ask them questions. They can tell me, sometimes people don't feel in the questionnaires 100%. They feel like they used against me or something, or they think you're actually analyzing them. So they now begin to put conditions that they fit into. But you have to make it understand that, no, I'm just trying to understand your role so that I can even make it better for you. Or your line manager can make it better for you. You need to always tell what's in it for me to them. Report identified gaps. So when after carrying out your survey, you have your HR mission statements, you've done the whole 9 yards, you've spoken to management, you've spoken to the staff. When you get there, please don't just sit in your office. Relate with the staff, especially at the beginning. Get to know them. Get to know them. If you need to carry out a skills assessment, you might, but maybe not at this stage. Maybe more towards the L&D, we'll talk about it. But report identified gaps to senior management. This is where we are. This is what we have. This is where we are going. This is what we need to put in place to actually harness our HR. To make our HR run, this is what we need. These are my discoveries. Okay. And then after having that conversation, now what you will actually get, what should be the outcomes of your one, that's the foundation, building the foundation, strategic alignment. What should be the outcome? Project plan. You need a project plan. From this stage, you should know exactly where HR sits in the organization. This might take you maybe sometimes 8 weeks, sometimes 6 weeks, depending on the people, on the composition of the people. You might send out requests for survey and nobody is listening to you. Nobody wants to fill your survey. HR will understand this. So you have to go talk to them, make appointments, make sure you are talking and make sure you are listening. So you're going to have a project plan. This is what we need right now. This is what we will address later, and this will come at the latter end. There has to be a roadmap. If you don't have a roadmap, you're going to be overwhelmed without a roadmap. And then a roadmap helps you get back on track. Okay, I was supposed to touch this area last month. I didn't do so. I should touch it this month now. You should have I like to call it, is it like a delivery sheet or report sheet where you are ticking off those checklists? This is what I've done. This is where I am right now. You should have that, your project plan. Have your job analysis questionnaire, because that you should share with management. Have the personnel inventory, so survey report and your recommendation. Survey report and your recommendation. If you don't know how to do analytics, please try. You shouldn't even try, you should learn to do it, because that's the skill that you need as HR. Now, what tools are you using for your survey? Are you using Google Forms? Sometimes surveys need to be anonymous for people to actually speak. So you have to go online, check for surveys that can be anonymous. I do this because you as HR knows who answered what, but you don't have to disclose it. So those kind of forms, they don't feel any name, you don't feel nothing, they feel safe. They feel safe. And this is where your expertise as HR comes in. You have to be sure that make sure that you are discreet. You know who said what, doesn't mean you have to run to the MD. This person said this. Be discreet, be confidential. Confidentiality is key for a HR professional. Your armed with your mission statement, and then your proposed HR system and structure. Then we move to the HR roadmap, what I like to call the building blocks. So this is where technical competence comes in. This is where you have to prove your HR expertise. You know why you were employed in the organization. Show that you know your stuff. What's the first way? What's the first thing to do? Okay, right. We spoke about the inflow, through flow, and outflow. This roadmap talks about how employees come in, that's how it's structured, what happens in between, and then what happens when they get out. All right, so the inflow is recruitment and selection. Through flow is onboarding, career development, promotion, redeployment, employee engagement, succession planning, all those things that happen in between L&D, that's career development anyway. The compensation, complement, payroll, that's what happens in between. And then at the end, what happens? Outflow, resignation. People will leave the organization. You will leave the organization. What kind of process are you putting in place? What kind of exit management structure are you putting in place? So we talk about resignation, retirement, dismissal, and redundancy. Now, the first one is talent acquisition. What most people say, recruitment. Well, recruitment, TA is a broad language for, it's not just recruitment. So for your TA strat, you need to have a talent acquisition strategy. What kind of people are we having? What kind of people do we need in the organization? Remember that you need to know your composition. First of all, who are we? Do we have more baby boomers that are leaving? Do we have more of Gen Z? So what's your DEI like? That's your diversity, equity, and inclusion index. What's it like? That will actually influence your talent acquisition strategy. What's our employer branding like? Because whether you like it or not, your employer branding attracts people, either attract or repel people. Some organizations are so bad that they have bad reviews online. So if your organization has bad reviews online, you need to work on your employer branding. Although you can't do it all by yourself. It's not just HR. It's something that management has to also look into, but HR has the voice. HR flags it to say, we are recruiting, but this is what I have found out, discovered about our employer branding. This is what the public is saying. Of course, the public are those ones that have left, that have passed through the system. How can we make it better? Or we are nowhere to be found online. If you put out an ad, people will think we're a scam organization. What can we do better? We need to go on LinkedIn, compel employees to sign up to LinkedIn and then follow the page, engage on LinkedIn. Do we need a website? If you don't have a website at this stage, I don't know. I don't know why you should have a website, except it's under maintenance or in the works, but you should have a website because that actually attracts employees, your potential employees, the organization. They would like to know who you are. What's the management structure like? What do they do? You know, some people would say, I just want a job, any job. Not everybody is like that. After all, you don't want just anybody in your organization. So how are you position yourself as an employer? And then when the request comes from the line managers, you have a vacancy to fill, we need to fill this role. You should have a form called a personnel acquisition form. That will contain the talent need analysis. That's actually talent need, talent assessment. Why do we need to fill this role? Do we have internal skills identified? Internal persons identified? Can we train? Instead of buying, can we train? No, you can either buy or build. Buying is like hiring. Building is you actually empower the people in-house. You build them up. So instead of buying, can we build? Maybe we just take them through training for maybe 2 to 3 months, and then we employ in a lower role. That will save the company cost. Yes. Job profiling, what does the role entail? What are the qualifications? What should the person have? Whoever will occupy this role, what should they actually have? Evaluate the cost to company. Cost to company is not just the salary of the person or the proposed salary at all. No, all the recruitment costs, all of it. Add the HMO, all your actually total rewards. You have to evaluate the cost to company. Know that for your there are some statutory requirements that are cost to employer alone. You need to include that. It's not just pension and NHF. Include your cost to employer. Yes, are we going to use recruitment firms to make it easier on us? Because we all know that recruitment is quite tasking, or a good number of us can do that. I know that recruitment is quite tasking. Are we going to actually outsource this? How do we manage vendors? How do we manage the vendors? What kind of policies? What should the SLA look like? What if you're not managing vendors, you want to run it in-house? What platforms are we using for recruitment? Are we using Indeed? Are we using the HRIS? Are we using job boards? And the recruitment platform also what actually influences your recruitment platform is the kind of talent you're looking for. Sometimes you don't need to post anything. You're going to poach. You're not posting anything, or the talent you're looking for they're not online. You enter the market, you're gonna look for them. Or you ask people, referral, what exactly are we doing? Not that we have a role you post. You might post just for posting sake because you need to post, but you must make sure that you identify the channels. Where can we get these people? Remember that recruitment is like actually marketing. Recruitment is sales and marketing. You're looking for people. You need to buy. In the process of buying, you're selling yourself. That's where the employer branding comes in. The next thing to do here is screen assessments. You need to screen the resume, create a short list. What's the band? Conduct the job aptitude test. Have a benchmark for selection. This actually starts from resume assessment, or it actually starts from the job ad, the job profile. You need 3 to 5 experience. It also automatically cuts out 1 to 2 years of experience. I then need to have certifications. Those that don't have it are actually just cut off. So that's where you have your selection benchmark. After selecting somebody or a group of people, your potentials, you need to verify the employment history, conduct background checks, conduct medical assessments, reference checks, and then you make the offer. Then you move to onboarding, where the person accepts the offer, they actually show up. Sometimes they accept and they don't show up. This HR is our life. Some people understand this. They accept, they don't show up. You have to go back to number 2, where you have your top 3 or your top 4, and then you go here again, selection and onboarding. So when you're recruiting, don't just have one person. You have just one candidate fits all. Have 1, 2, 3. For me, I don't close out until the person resumes. And I can tell the other potentials, oh, sorry, we have to move on, but we have your resume in our bank and we'll reach out to you when another role opens up, or something that matches your skills comes up. Be in touch with them, build your talent pipeline. You will need them. You need to reach out to them, give them feedback. They deserve it. Candidates actually deserve feedback. We have all applied to places before. When we don't get feedback, we're just wondering, am I that bad? They really don't like me. Like, you feel terrible. But candidates must know that sometimes it's not that they didn't fit the bill, or they don't have anything upstairs, or they're not competent enough. They are competent. They might not just fit your culture. They might not fit your culture. Or you're looking for a Gen Z because you want to work in your DEI, or you're looking for a Gen Z. You can't put a baby boomer there because person is competent. It will cause rancor in your system. So you have to be sure of the kind of people that you want on board, the organization needs per time. And then you must have your onboarding procedure, your process feedback. Ask the employees, how did it go to, how was your process? I mean, we're getting there. That's like a new hire survey. We're getting there for the surveys that you need. Ask them how has it been? How was the process when they've been employed though? Because if you're asking before the offer, about giving an offer, they will lie. They will lie because they just want to get the job. And then if you ask when you have actually rejected some people, they want to sting back. So ask when they come in, that's a new hire survey. How was the recruitment process? How was the employment process? How can we actually improve ourselves? What do you think? What's your suggestion? When you're doing that, they feel like they have a voice. They want to listen. Oh wow, they actually want to listen to me. They actually care to know what I think. They will talk to you. And then you give your analysis, give your recruitment report. Please make use of dashboards. HR people, I know that we love to type. We love words. I love words. Some of us don't like mathematics, yes, but you need to learn HR analytics. I say this because if you are the HR manager reporting to senior management, they don't have time to be reading your thesis. Have a dashboard, an engaging dashboard that has metrics, lots of metrics. When they see figures, they love it. And then make sure you're tying those figures to the bottom line. That's why I've included some metrics here, metrics to look out for, know the source of hire, the time to fill, time of hire, cost per hire, quality of hire. This usually comes towards the end of the recruitment process or after the onboarding. You can't really know quality of hire until you have actually employed them. And then you can ascertain that they didn't lie on their resume. Some people lie, they lie a lot. Because what you find out that what you interviewed is not what is being delivered at all. What you ordered versus what you got, you're not jiving. So what's the quality of hire? Where did we get these top talents from? Was it LinkedIn or was it through referral? When we need this set of talents, where should we go to? You get to know this after the probation period most of the time. And then the offer acceptance rate. You can give an offer today, and then somebody tells you they can't join. I've traveled. You know what's going on? The exodus, Japan. Or they accept, but tell you that, can I work remotely? They didn't mention this before. Can I work remotely? Because they've gone. Or they haven't even resigned from their place of employment, just want to juggle both roles. And then percentage of open positions. Those are some metrics that you should actually look out for. The next thing is training and development. These guys have come into the system, or we have people in the system already. How well are they trained? How well are they trained? The concern for management usually is if we train them, and what if we train them and they leave? That's why we have policies. We're not saying that we're going to put a noose around their neck. No, you must stay. Once you are trained, you must stay. You should have policies guiding it. It's an investment. There must be returns on investment. But employees must be trained. It's an employer's duty to actually train the employee. So you starting up the HR department, you have to review corporate strategy and then align it with training. What are we doing? What kind of products do we sell? Now, what's our skill bank? Who do we have in-house? What do we have in-house? How can we scale? How can we actually empower our people? You know, this is where you identify competency gaps. You create a survey or a test, for skills gap analysis. You actually have to analyze the skills in the organization, the competencies. Where are we? For this role, we need to have this competency of 80%. We don't have it yet. That is where you train. You engage stakeholders. You don't just go and say, oh, this course is trending. We need this course. This course is trending. This will benefit us. Show how it benefits the organization. Show how it actually affects the bottom line. Talk to line managers. Don't just sit in your office as HR and say, we have this training, that training. Yes, there could be soft skills training, yes, but talk to line managers, engage with them. What skills do you need your people should build up on? What exactly are we doing? Where do we need to get them to? The role-related skills might not know, but that is where line managers come in, and they will recommend courses for you. You contact the organizations, and then you must sell it to management. If management doesn't buy in, it won't work. Establish program outcomes for employees and the organization. Show management how it will affect the bottom line. If we train our employees on these particular skills, it will increase turnover or reduce turnover, employee turnover, and increase bottom line, increase our revenue. They'll be more empowered. This is, or you can say that our employees, we are losing customers because they are not equipped with excellent customer service skills. You need to tie it to revenue. Create a blended learning approach. There are different learning approaches. Do you want to have a classroom style? Do you want to have learning L&D through films? Do you want it to be gamified? L&D doesn't just have to be everyone going for a seminar or everyone going outside. It can be inside. It could just be on the job training. Evaluate training transfer. Well, after being trained, don't just sleep. You should put out the training, the form. How did it go? Ask questions. How did it go? What did you learn? How soon can you transfer this training to your role? And don't just sleep there. Follow it up with the line managers. They need to have those forms in the next 3 to 6 months. Go back. Any change yet? Are we seeing results? That's how you measure the return on investment, so that management can actually endorse these trainings in future. Next thing you want to do is your performance management. So for every section that we touch, we are going to have a policy. You need to have your L&D policy. You need to have your talent acquisition policy. You need to have it in black and white. And now for performance management, they might not have been running appraisals at your new organization. Or it's an old organization, but you are new in HR. Or what's the appraisal cycle like? Is it a facade? Are there actually goals? Do people actually know what they are supposed to do? Are the right metrics being used? Or is it purely sentimental? Once again, you analyze the JDs, identify competencies, identify key result areas. You can't do this alone. HR, you can't do this alone. You need to work hand in hand with the line managers. Line managers don't know HR. Line managers are pressured with the outcomes. This is where HR coaches, you sit down with them. Okay, what are the key result areas? What should we see? How do we know this person is performing? And then sometimes what we HR people do is that we throw jargon in their faces. So everyone knows KPIs, everyone knows KRA, that's key result areas, but make sure you are speaking their language. Speak what they understand. Speak in plain English. Okay, how do we evaluate this person? How do we know this person is performing? What are the targets? What are the goals? What kind of structure are we using for performance? Are we using MBO, management objectives, or the BSc? Do our people understand it? Do we need a training on performance management? Then you go ahead to performance monitoring, establish a performance tracking system. Some people, when it's time for appraisal, they don't talk to their line managers until it's time for appraisal. Some line managers won't even talk to their subordinates until it's time for appraisal. Some will just say, I'll meet you during appraisal. No, as HR, we have to ensure that that doesn't happen in our system. We need to build, make sure that there are regular feedbacks, there are regular sessions, one-on-ones with line managers. Make sure that they might be busy, but it's part of their role. It should be part of their KPI. Remember that we are trying to build, we are trying to have a rightly built HR structure. And HR structure is not just HR department. It cuts across the people operations in the organization. What are the reporting lines? Make sure that KPIs are actually documented. People know what they're supposed to do per time. And there are no surprises during appraisal. Provide learning and development interventions. In between, there has to be learning. In between, there has to be coaching. We can't just leave our people alone. HR, don't just sit in your office building structure. Go out there, ask them, what are your pain points? You also now move to performance evaluation, where we set up the appraisal frequency, know what works for your organization, and what you're preferring, what you're suggesting to management. If you're coming from a place where it was done once per year, you might be in a dynamic industry that needs you to have it 4 times in a year. Things are changing. We need to keep on evaluating. You do it quarterly. So you don't just bring all you've known from your past life to your new life. No, read your environments, read the organization, evaluate the performance, get a transparent grading matrix. How are we grading people? Very good, good, excellent, poor. Why? There must be comments. Why? Line managers must understand that they can't just grade out of sentiment. They have to give, they have to put comments and verifiable ones. Will you also give employees a chance to grade themselves? You should consider that if that works for your culture. So you can actually view how they see themselves from their eyes. I remember having my sessions with my subordinates, and then sometimes they score themselves, some points they score themselves very high. And I think, no, no, this is, you can't score this because this, you did not actually meet the deadline, or you didn't deliver. And they say, oh, I showed them, this is, and then we had this conversation. Remember, I sent a reminder, I tutored you. Oh, sometimes they score themselves very low. I'm like, no, you're actually doing good. And this is why you're doing good. So you should have those transparent grading matrix in your organization. It's very, very important. If not, low morale is sure to happen. And then what are the rewards? You know what I said earlier, what's in it for me? What's in it for me? Some people say, they're paid salaries. Yes, but what else? How are you encouraging people? It doesn't mean that you have to give them extra every time. How do you say thank you? How do you say well done? You need to have those rewards and interventions in place. Or how do you say you're not doing so good? You put them on PIP. And then there has to be a template for PIP. They have to know that if I don't meet this particular mark, I'm going on PIP. And then you manage performance feedback sessions. That's how you run end-to-end your performance management. I believe we're on track. And then for compensation and benefits. So this talks about the financial and then the non-financial value, rewards given to an employee for their work. You need to analyze the current compensation strategy. What I always recommend is having a compensation structure. It saves you. If you don't know how to build one, please learn how to build one. If you check the learning series for HRMentorship, the YouTube page, I bet you there'll be 1 or 2 on compensation and benefits. Now, when you're building a compensation and benefit structure, don't just sit in your office. I keep saying that. Conduct market surveys. What are your competitors doing? Who are your competitors? You will know from the history, like when you ask questions, where are people, when they live here, where do they go? That's how you get to know, where do they go? Why do they go there? What are they doing differently? What can we adopt that's in line with our structure, and what's in line, and that's in line with our culture? You need to establish pay grades so that when you're recruiting, and then from the market survey and everything, let's say a role is supposed to be valued at 150,000. Your management doesn't say, no, we are paying 70,000. Or we are paying 300,000. Have pay grades, have bands, have ranges. Don't be too rigid, have ranges. Band A, band B, band C, and have conditions for being on those grades. You can have those career levels. You can say entry level, professional, senior, intermediate, and you have those grades in between, those levels in between, senior 1, junior 1, junior 2, 3, 4, senior 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the ranges, minimum, mid, and maximum. This is the minimum we are paying. This is the maximum we are paying. This is the midpoint. And what are the conditions for those roles? What you're also doing is building career levels in the organization. Because that way, people can then know what they get when they advance, giving them a reason to actually advance and put in the work. When you're building your company, then outline the financial and non-financials, the HMO that the employees are not receiving in cash is financial. Outline it there. What are your pay elements? In this climate, we like to divide it by basic, housing, transport, because of the taxation. You need to know what is applicable. What does the Nigerian labor law state? What are the pay? What's the law? What's the pay? What's the law? There's a new law that you have to follow. There's a law of the one that came out in 2015. I can't remember. It's a new one anyway. You need to know it. What is obtainable? How are we being taxed? What are we taxing on basic housing and transport? Even though it's everything that is being taxed now, it's everything, whether you have basic, everything, but there are non-taxable elements. That's where you have your pension, your NHF, those ones are non-taxable. We need to know those. And then you need to ensure that it's labor law compliant, you're complying with the laws of the land. Talk to your organization about your management about the benefits you need to offer employees as well. Review the health and wellness plan. Is there an HMO? It's an employer's duty to have HMO. You have to, HMO, HRIS, make sure they are taking care of the employees' health. What are our retirement schemes? Gratuity is not compulsory, but it's good to have. It's good to have. Are we going to offer employees mortgage? You need to make sure that it's competitive. But are there bonuses? Are there status cars? Are we giving employees cars? At what level are they getting these perks? What are the perks we are offering? How about leave allowance? How about 13th month? How about performance-based rewards? What are we doing for them? Are we giving plaques at the end of the year? Talk about these things. Talk about these things. What's our work-life effectiveness plan? Are we running a hybrid structure? What works for our industry? Okay, sometimes some people offer very small salary, but the benefits are wide. They send you on this training, they give you this, they give you that. The salary might be small, but the perks exceed it. For example, somebody might want to take a job of 350,000, which also comes with accommodation. The person doesn't have to worry about accommodation. The person would take that over a 500 or over a 450, depending on their reality. The goal for HR here is to make sure that the organization is as competitive as possible. For compensation, are we leading the market? Are we lagging? I wouldn't advise you to lag, but sometimes startups have to lag. Some startups actually lag because of funding. Or are we matching the market? That will influence your compensation strategy. Are we matching? Are we leading? Are we matching? Are we lagging? And you can only know that when you conduct a market survey. I believe you're following. So the next one is career management. We have these people in-house now. How do they feel about the organization? How are they growing? This is a very, very important part of the organization. Some people are fine with earning their salary and going home after I'm being paid. Some people actually want to grow. This is also tied to L&D and comp and ben. So we have to review the workforce competency profile. Remember, the company is going somewhere. The people have to be carried along. That is HR's duty. Introduce individual development plans. Where do these people want to be? Where do they see themselves in the next 3 years? What are their aspirations? From there, from your IDPs, from the IDPs, you will actually know if you should hire, that's if you should buy or build. Some people might want to actually just go to a different department. They've been in one department for 3 years. You might want to change. So do you have that? Are we having that provision in this organization? You need to look into it if your culture, your structure actually permits. That is where you now recommend intervention in line with company objective and growth. And then you track your employees' growth. So somebody says, I'm on junior 1 today. If I need to move to junior 2, I need to ensure that my performance is top notch. I need to score this percentage, maybe 70% in appraisal or 90% in my appraisal. I need to have completed this number of courses. You have those things documented as HR. You need to have all these forms in place. You need to have all these policies in place, and then the process must be in place. Line managers must be tutored on the process every time. Okay, you must ensure that everyone is carried along. We are moving very quickly. Now, employee engagement, you have brought them in, you're developing them, it's looking good or it's not looking good. Performance management is okay, people are leaving, people are not. Management is happy, management is not. You have to now measure, how do you know all those? Because you have to measure the engagement, how engaged are people? How connected are people to the organization? What do they feel about us? What do they feel about our organization? Here it says employee engagement is the strength of the mental and emotional connection employees feel towards the work they do. How happy are they towards their teams, the people they are with every day, the organization as a whole? I remember in my former life, one of them, I used to hate going to work. I had to go to work. Maybe like some of us said, we just have to go to work, but we hate going to work. At that time, I loved my team, but I disliked the organization, the culture. It was so bad that leaving the house, I'll be fine. But once I get to the bus stop, I have a headache. I have migraines. I just want to go back. Is that how our people feel? Is that how our culture makes them feel? Is that how our processes make them feel? This is what you need to look at when you're building your HR department. How are we running HR? I know that culture does not fall solely on HR. Everyone has an input. In fact, senior management sets the tone for culture. Sometimes HR can't do anything than talk, give recommendations, document them. So how engaged, how connected are people actually? There are 4 levels of engagement. The highly engaged, these ones are very, very happy. They go over and beyond. They're fine. They're fine. They're not letting interest. They have the intrinsic and external factors are in check. They're good. These ones perform optimally. They actually feel good with their work, feel good with their teams, feel good with the organization. It works for them. And then we have the moderately engaged, favorable, but something holds them back. So they're giving their best. They might not go over and beyond, might not. It's here or there. They're not as excited as the highly engaged ones. Those ones are looking for ways to improve the system. Oh, what are we doing today? What's the organization doing? How can we improve this? They're in your face. You know them. They're your passionate voices. And then we have the barely engaged, indifferent. Please, I'm just here to do my work after all. They don't care. They don't. It's 50 or 50-50 for them, please. And then the disengaged, they don't like the place. Sometimes they don't want to leave because there's no other option in view. As HR, when you get in there, you need to feel the pulse. You need to feel the pulse. You need to be aware that you need to know that not everyone is engaged. In an organization, not everyone can be engaged at the same time. They will fall into either of these brackets. And sometimes when we talk about or think about employee engagement, you think about happiness. How happy are they? Happiness is relative. So we say, management, we need to increase salaries. Oh, the morale is very low. Money, yes, but sometimes not every time. Money doesn't engage every time. When people receive salary reviews, they're very happy. Sometimes the happiness is temporal. It's temporal. After the highs of, oh, I got salary review, they are back to reality. I don't like my job. I don't know what I'm doing here. It could be the process. It could be the line manager. This is where you have to coach them. You need to feel the pulse. How satisfied are they? So some people think the employees are satisfied, so they're engaged. Not necessarily. Somebody might not be satisfied with everything. I'm good in my pay, I'm good with everything. But it doesn't mean that they're actually engaged. it doesn't mean that they are engaged. It doesn't mean that they want to go over and beyond. They are just, okay, it meets their needs. It pays for the DSTV, I'm good. Or you're sitting back and thinking, oh, our employees are always falling sick. Well-being, you think it's about the well-being. Don't forget that well-being is a sum total. It's not just about the work. It's not just about the office, although it's a major part. So our employees are doing so good, or they're hardly calling sick, it means they're engaged. No, they might not be engaged. So how do we actually know that these are people are engaged? We put out surveys. We have tools, surveys, collaboration, talk to them, hold a town hall meeting. So it says the employee engagement surveys. These help to see the big picture. How are we doing? Encourage employees to pen their thoughts, make it as anonymous as possible. All right. These ones can be at any time. Maybe you can run it twice in a year, 2 cycles. Your pulse surveys. These ones can be feedback on any topic. How was our last town hall? What about what's your take on this new initiative? What's your take on this new role? By the time you are doing that, you're getting them to speak. And please, as much as possible, help them to let them know that their voice matters. Acknowledge when you put out surveys. Acknowledge when you get the feedback. Hold a town hall to say, this is what you said, the management has heard, this is what we are doing, or this is what we intend to do in future. And then you also have life cycle surveys. That's the one that happens at the beginning of an employee's life cycle, at the middle, and at the end. So at the beginning, for the new hires, how was our recruitment process? How was the onboarding process? How was your first 6 months? Tell us something about it. In the middle, we want to have, how was your performance? How was our last performance cycle? What should we do differently? What should we change? Do you feel properly evaluated? Those things have to be there. And then you also now need to have the exit survey. What employees will leave? You will leave someday. Have your exit survey, have your exit questionnaire in check. What exactly made them leave? What exactly made them leave? You know, what exactly made them leave? What can we do better? And then what is better than the exit survey is the stay survey. That's an employee engagement survey anyway. How are we doing? What makes you stay? What can we do to make your work better? How engaged are you? Scale to 1 to 10. What's your net promoter score? That's for the employer. What is our net promoter score? That's the likelihood of your organization being referred by your employees. Make sure these surveys, most of them are anonymous. They can actually speak to you. HR will know. For some tools, HR knows who sent what. Some tools actually hide completely. How likely are you to refer the organization to your peers? Some people say, God forbid. Some people say, likely, very much, because that way you can see, you can know if they're actually enjoying the culture or not. If you're doing something right, have your HR service delivery survey. How is HR doing? What's the service delivery? Make sure it's the questions are actually streamlined. They are understandable. Any comments for HR? How can we improve? What do you think? People don't understand what HR brings to the table most of the time. HR is like a mystery. But it's good to also know these things from the employee's view. They might tell you HR needs to be more open, HR needs to be more flexible, HR needs to be, sometimes they say flexible, they're talking about policies that or sanctions. You know what can change and what cannot change. So when we have these employees, we build our policies. As you're building policies, ensure that the surveys are going out. I believe somebody is learning something today. And then succession planning. This is one of the building blocks of HR, of people management, human capital management. Are you having a flat structure? Even if you have a flat structure, somebody will always leave a post, a job role, either voluntarily or involuntarily. What is the plan? What is the plan? Now, my slide says, it's the process of identifying the critical positions within your organization and developing action plans for individuals to assume those positions. We can't play the ostrich. Labaja has been here for 3 years. Labaja is here. You'll be shocked. Labaja will japa. Labaja will go. It's not life covenant. It's not marriage. Marriage is not even life covenant. But so you need to be sure that you have these processes in place. Make room for the future. Remember, the company is going somewhere. The people will also move. What is the objective of succession planning? Is to ensure that organizational leadership is sustained. If Mr. A leaves, how soon can we fill the gap? We need to train somebody to actually get ready to fill the gap in the next 3 years. And the person should know that they're in the management pipeline. Because sometimes people hide it. And then when somebody drops that letter, we say, but we had plans for you. They didn't know of the plans. They didn't know of the prospect. They didn't know of anything. So those things have to actually be communicated. So the first thing to do is you develop your succession strategy. Define key positions. It's not all positions need succession planning. Some are very easy to fill. As long as you have your SOPs in place, your standard operating procedures, which are key. Not all positions need to have a succession. You don't need to plan this. It's for your critical positions. If this person goes today, what will happen to us? What will happen to the organization? What will happen to our revenue? And we understand still. What happens? Identify key positions, clarify applicable and performance metrics, evaluate your talent pool, build succession management pool. These are the things that you do for the succession planning. This is what you want to show to management. And when you have these plans, when you have a strategy in place, make sure you identify this, talk to your line managers, and then approach management to say, this is what I've built. This is what I think. And then you have to show the facts. From the analysis, you have to build a business case for even succession planning. Some people just feel employees come and go, we'll be fine. When some employees leave, you might not be fine. It will take a while for you to actually adjust. Nobody is indispensable, correct? But what are we doing to ensure that our system is formidable? What kind of process is in place? How do we have SOPs? Properly documented SOPs. What do we have in plan for knowledge transfer? How often do we do that? How often do we have job rotation? How often do we have job shadowing? Those are also key elements of succession planning. That is how about our training initiatives? Phase 3 is the process now. Timely communication, need to balance confidentiality and transparency. Like I said, they must know, but you have to strike a balance. You might not be explicit as you would want to. Be sure to identify what management wants them to know, but they must know that they are in the pipeline for something, and then you shouldn't play favorites. So these are our top guys. Without this organization, without them, we've all fallen. that will lead to low morale. Some people won't feel needed, and they will just give their bit the barest minimum, or maybe not even up to, because after all, I'm not important. Convey a fair selection process. How are we selecting these people? What exams or what obstacles should they have passed? What skills must they possess? You need to actually know those ones. I like career management, then obtain management's buy-in. Okay, now, so we've gone through talent acquisition, we've gone through L&D, we've gone through employee engagement, we've gone through comp and ben, we've gone through succession planning. That is the through flow. This is the outflow. People leave. Whether we like it or not, people leave. Exit is part of the employee's life cycle. If your employees are not leaving, check it. Why are they not leaving? Why are they not leaving? Are you enabling anyhowness in your culture? Is your system actually competitive? I'm not saying draconian. I'm not saying you should turn people's heads against each other, but they might just be there. Oh, I'm okay here. I'm earning my salary, but I'm watching YouTube. Nobody is looking at my job. The output is not measured. Input, nobody cares. So there is usually a flow. Management is always it is only questionable when your top talents are leaving in droves every time. Then something is happening. Something has to be tweaked. Now, how you manage how an employee leaves is as important as how you recruited them, because they will go on to be ambassadors for you. People leave, life happens. Maybe the organization has become too small for that growth. They need to move on, or they're migrating. Health issues, they can no longer stand on site 9 to 5. They need a remote role because their family is growing. People leave for different reasons. And how we manage that process is as HR is very, very important. As HR, you need your exit management, your exit questionnaire. You need to find out why they're leaving. So we'll just run through this checklist now so that we can be sure that we're on track with the exit management. Number one, manage the resignation. They come to you, or they go to their line manager to say, I'm leaving, I want to leave, I want to resign. What's the process? They send a note to their line manager copying HR. Sometimes they come to me and say, it's time to go. I try to talk to them. What can we do? Why do you want to leave? Is there something we must do? If at all. Okay, so send your resignation to your line manager copying HR. When it's accepted, you document the exit. Accept it, then you communicate internally and externally. Tell whoever needs to hear. Tell the employees, don't waste time. Tell them, because they already know, a good number of them already know that this person is leaving. Before they come to HR, they've told their peers. The rumor has gone wild. Especially if it's a small organization, communicate, this person is leaving due to career advancements or whatever, but they must know. Give the timelines. When is this person leaving? What should we do in between? I do have clients that this person interfaces with. Hint them so that there is no conflict of interest somewhere or breach of trust. The fourth step is to plan for a transfer of knowledge. There has to be a transfer of knowledge. Who is sitting in for this person? How soon can we replace? Is it now time for someone to step into the shoes, or we need to buy immediately? Are we poaching? Make sure that when the timeline expires, you collect the company assets. There's a sign-off form. Make sure you have an employee exit checklist. It usually starts with IT, maybe emails, and then there's a section for IT, section for finance, section for admin, section for HR. It all depends on your organization, but ensure that this checklist goes out. IT confirms they've onboarded, they've offboarded. They've collected company assets. They've done everything. Admin has to sign. We need the evidence. We need evidence to ensure that this thing has been happening, that this process is actually being followed. We arrange for the final payments and benefits of this employee. Don't be in the group of those people that don't pay the exiting employees. That's where they're living, or you like to withhold their salary. No, the law says that you must pay them everything by the last day of employment. You have to pay all their entitlements. If you have a timeline for gratuity, make sure it is communicated. Number 7 is to discuss the binding agreements. What does your non-compete say? Remind them of the non-compete form they signed. Remember those forms that you need to have when you're onboarding your employees, your offer letter, your non-compete confidentiality, the direct deposit form for payroll. Remind them of the non-compete they signed, depending on your industry and your organization. Discuss these things. Are they going to a competitor? What does the policy say? What's the process? What's the timeline for them to work, for them to stay, the non-compete timeline? What is it? You have to know that and make sure it's realistic. Conduct an exit interview, talk to them. Sometimes some people don't want to talk. Send them the checklist, send them the questionnaire. And listen, actually read it. At that point, some people might just say, I'm okay, I don't care. Nothing, I'm fine. Some will actually pour out their mind to you. The culture is toxic. I will not refer anybody to the organization because of AYZ. My line manager made my life hell. Don't just file the questionnaire away. Listen to them. And then you check in with the remaining employees. Separation is very difficult, and most times painful. I mean, they've made rapport. Feel the pulse. It's part of employee engagement. Talk to them. How are you feeling? How are you doing? Maintain relationship with exiting employees. This can be done. Check on them 6 months down the line. How are you? It's been 6 months since you left here. I hope life is working out for you. What I like to do is I call them, I reach out to them. I hope things are working out for you. Sometimes they come to me for advice. This is what is going on in my new workplace. I tell them, no, don't do that. I tell them the most I can. They are not enemies. Even the owner of a business will leave one day. And I've had employees, exited employees actually refer good hands to my organization where I work. They actually help in broadcasting the ad. Well, I have someone, let me get someone for you. But if your organization is toxic, they will not. They will probably refer their enemy. So make sure that we maintain relationship with exiting employees. Another thing that you must consider is your HRIS. So do you want to run your HR using paper? For my current organization, we are almost paperless. COVID really helped with that. COVID struck, and then we went remote for almost 2 years, if not 2 years. That way I had to build a digital HR system. Everything is on the cloud. You want this form, that's the link. You want this, that's the link. Just in very few cases where we have to print forms and sign, you have your digital signature. So the HRIS, the system is to collect and store employees' data. It helps with recruitment, it helps with training, it helps with succession planning, all that we have said. It helps with the administrative process. You have the brain. The HRIS helps you save the time. You don't have time for the nitty-gritty, especially when you're the HR department of one. You need a system that tracks time and attendance. I don't want to think that any organization is still signing in with Biro. That's why you have your biometric system. And once people clock in, you're seeing it on your HR dashboard. The time is there. In fact, our HR dashboard is structured so much that you can see who came in first, who came in early, who came in late, and who is absent. It's on the dashboard. When they look at the dashboard, late comers, I came in 5 minutes late. We also send prompts to the line manager. If somebody is supposed to be in the office and the person is not there, HR receives a prompt. The line manager receives a prompt, except the person has asked for an exemption. That way you can track what's going on. Are they coming late? What's going on? Lifestyle changes or geographical change? What's going on? So the HRIS makes our work actually easier as HR. While you now focus on the strategic. HR likes to focus on the strategic. So if you're just tracking attendance, please, you're not doing your HR well. HR is not just about attendance and reporting to management about something. No, you have to be strategic. You give your reports and you have to come with facts. Our employees have low morale. You present the survey results. We need training in this area. You present it, lots of fact sheet. It's called your fact sheet. You need to present the facts to management. Now, when choosing the HRIS, you need to be sure that it covers all aspects of HR. They're actually very flexible systems that cover all aspects of HR, from recruitment to performance management, to even, there are some that even build your organogram for you. There are some that manages your L&D, your leaves. You can schedule you can have a roster on some. The ones that we use it is the end-to-end HR, including payroll. It brings a report for you. It has analytics. I just go to the dashboard somewhere and see and just bring out and print out my reports. It makes my work easier, and then I can focus on what is strategic. And then you also have to look out for ease of integration. How easy can we link it to finance if you want to have an ERP? How easy can we link it to finance? Or are we having an external performance management system? How easy can we link this together? These are questions you should ask when you're choosing the HRIS. When you're done setting up your department, your HR department, you need to measure. Sometimes it could be overwhelming, but you need to measure. You need to be sure that you're on track. So the first thing to do is to set or adjust HR practices. Check the Nigerian labor law. What does ILO say about the HR practices? Remember, there's best practice and then there's best fit. So company A does what initiative doesn't mean that you will imbibe. Look inwards. What are we driving at? What do we need to, where do we need to get to? Why do we need to bring in that initiative? What is the best fit for organization, which is also compliant with the law? Measure and assess your current practices. Then you compare with current employment practice against legal requirements and HR good practice standards. Yes. Identify and recommend areas for change. Sometimes it's good for you to have an external view of your HR process in your organization. The ones you've built, because it's your baby, in quote, you might be blindsided. So just ask somebody, or you can just get a recruitment firm a consulting firm to do it for you. Can you please audit me? You can ask your friend, can you audit me? But remember, we have the confidentiality clause. It's best this stays in-house. Audit yourself. If you can't, ask somebody to audit you. Or you get a HR audit checklist. If you're not compliant in any way, make sure you implement legally compliant employment and good HR practices, and then re-evaluate your practice and provide ongoing HR support. Pitfalls to avoid when you're building your HR department. You need to make sure that all your policies are up to date. Don't create the handbook and your attendance policy is the same as when you start working remotely. It will not apply. If you now have a hybrid organization, make sure you change that. Are you introducing mortgages? Update your policies, and make sure you communicate these policies to employees. They must know and understand, and also sign an acknowledgement that they understand, they know. Make sure that the line managers actually know these policies. Have your policy document. That one is more in-depth than the handbook. Make sure to avoid poor hiring and promotion decisions. Don't do things on sentiments. It never pays off. If your management is sentimental, make sure that you have, that is why you need to have metrics. That's why the job profiling must be done. You need to have specifications. The role needs someone that has 5 years of experience. We have to, sometimes you give them a chance, because I've also met people that have 5 years of experience doing 1 year of experience 5 times. That's actually 1 year of experience doing the same thing for the 5 years. But somebody might have 3 and is more dynamic because they've been exposed to different situations, different scenarios. Bottom line is to ensure that your documents are they are top notch. Don't hire or promote based on sentiments. If you do, it will affect morale. Employees are watching. The next thing is you must have your properly stored documents. We work with lots of documents, so it's very, very easy to misplace them. If you use paper, make sure you have a cabinet and you have a proper filing system. If you use the cloud, make sure that your cloud is regularly backed up and you have different folders. For me, I have all the function of HR functions in the cloud. Recruitment, all the forms go there. HMO, they go there. Performance, they go there. I can bring out documents from 2019 with just a click or a few clicks because I have them there. So when you regularly audit yourself or you are being audited, you will have those documents. If not, you will drag your organization back. The next one is emotional intelligence deficiency. You need to have this. Gel this with your technical competence. You can't do HR alone. HR, you can't do it alone. You have to read the environment, be culturally aware. What applies here? What kind of people are here? Some environments, if you're speaking too much English, they will not answer you. You need to speak their lingua franca. Learn the written and unwritten rules. It's not every time that you talk. It's not every email that you respond to. It's not every time you talk, and it's not every email you respond to. Some are traps. Some, the right answer is silence. Some, you need to have a face-to-face conversation, or you pick up your phone and say, I'm trying to understand this email. Please, can you explain it to me? It could be that the vibe that you're getting from the email is very aggressive. But when you speak to the person, it might be totally different. So EI is very, very important. The next thing to avoid is inadequate training for yourself and then for the employees. Do not neglect yourself as HR. While trying to save others, you must save yourself. Save yourself first. And then you need to make sure that you are compliant. You need to know the laws that have been updated. 2 weeks ago also, we had changes to the NHF. To NHF, it's no more compulsory. You need to know what is applicable. Also, you can also know what's going on with NECA, the Nigerian Employers Consultative Association. What are they saying? What circular is going out? What does our labor law say? Ask your colleagues what's going on in your organization, what's going on in your industry. You must make sure that you are on top of your game as HR. Don't be caught napping. Don't be caught sleeping. Yes, and that brings me to the end of the presentation. We can talk now. I'm open to questions. Are there questions? Would you like a quick recap? Are there comments? Thank you for listening.
Wow, 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 wow. That was a very fantastic session. Thank you so much for those helpful insights that you have shared with us. It could not have been done in a better format. Thank you so much for what you have done. I'd just like to, if you like to contribute, you can either drop your comments in the chat box or raise your hands. Okay. I would like to share a few thoughts briefly, and then I'll call on Love Ngubwa. But before we call on Love, let me just quickly share our comments. We can stop sharing the screen right now. So with respect to starting an HR department from the scratch, I agree and appreciate the fact that it may be a daunting task. It's not easy because each organization has its own peculiarity. Okay, but it's important that you need to be able to identify and define the HR function that is suitable, purpose-built for that organization. You need to check what's the size of that organization. Are they 50? Are they 100? Are they 200? Is it a startup? Which sector are they operating in? What should be your team size? Should we be a one-man HR team, one-man riot squad? Should we be a team of 2 or 3? You may also want to check at what level are you the HR professional? Are you like a leader level or you're a junior level? If you're a junior level, you may need to have like a champion in the organization who is your go-to person who can amplify your voice in the organization. You also need to determine the kind of HR structure. Now, there are different organizational structures. There are also different HR structures. So you need to be able to know which kind of HR structure and how to be flexible. You may start with a particular HR structure and 3 months or 6 months down the line, you may need to tweak that session. Okay, the last thing I want to contribute to the many beautiful things we've been taught tonight is that you also need to identify the HR programs you want to roll out and begin to implement them. What kind of engagement programs, what kind of wellness programs, what kind of other activities, team bonding initiatives that you want to bring up. I just said I should just add that to what our sister has shared so eloquently, so generously with us. Someone was raising her hands before, Love. I can't see your hands anymore, but we'll quickly take Kate Kingsley. Love, please don't hold malice with me. I hope I didn't say what you were planning to say. I'm not a wizard. Kate Kingsley. Okay. After Kate, we'll come back to Love. We love you, Love. Yeah, well done, Sister Kate.
Thank you, bro. Oluyemi. All right, just kidding. From the last thing she said, she mentioned something about the last, the change in NHF. Of course, it's no longer news that it's not compulsory and
Oh, we lost
her. No, we lost our message, not her. We have her. We'll go to Love.
Yeah.
I'm sure Love did superpower to say I was the first. Love, you can unmute, please. Or do you prefer Sister Love? Tomorrow is Sunday. Hello, Love. Okay, while we are waiting for Love, let's go to Susan.
Okay, Love is here.
Thank you, Love.
Oh.
Your hands are up. You like to share something with us, ask a question, share experience.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone.
Please proceed.
Okay, actually, it's not a question. I just want to appreciate the speaker this evening. It was a wonderful and awesome presentation. And for that, I don't know, I just want to plead, can we really have the slides for the presentation tonight? Is it possible to have the slides?
Mr. Adeosun.
We'll go to the next contribution. Susan, you have the floor. Contributions or questions direct
Okay.
subject matter. That is not an
Good.
admin question.
No, not an admin question. Good evening, everyone. Good evening,
Hi, good evening.
Miss Ayeni. Thank you very much for today. In fact, God has used you to bless me because I'm starting a new role on Monday. A family friend just started a company, and the company is actually growing. It's an IT firm. So,
Nice.
and I don't really have hands-on experience on HR, although I've been working for over 5 years in relationship management. I've worked with few HR because I do HMO with HR. I help them to, I manage their HMO relationship with my company. So I'm trying to just transition into HR, and I've been on it for almost 2 years now, doing some courses. But Monday I'll be starting. And because the company is a startup, I've been scared of especially the legal side of HR. Like, I don't want staff to start suing. Maybe I'll do something wrong and they'll start suing, because it's like I'm starting up the HR department in the company on Monday. So in fact, this today has given me the confidence, because actually I've been reading a lot, and today is like you have given me that confidence to go ahead and do everything that you have said. I know if I have any question, I'm a member of the HR mentorship group, I'll ask there. In fact, I just want to say thank you for the confidence and everything, and God bless you for doing this for free. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay.
And success in your new role.
Fumilayo, quickly, please. Hello, Fumilayo. Anyone
Hello.
home? Fumilayo, quickly.
Yes. Good evening. Thank you very much for the wonderful presentation. This is my first time on HR mentorship group. I really appreciate the presentation. Thank you. I have a question. I've been working with HR. I mean, the educational system. I work in a university, and that doesn't really have a proper structure in the HR. So this has helped a lot to like put some things in perspective. And we are trying to actually transition from paper files to paperless. So we are supposed to come up with ideas. So I wanted to ask if, your take on this. How can one do that? It looks like a very humongous task, because you have a whole lot of files, and we are supposed to try to, put them in the cloud, or, do e-documentation. So I just wanted to ask if, there's something maybe you can help out, chip in something that could help us with that.
Okay. So for the existing files, what you want to do is to scan them. You must scan them and keep them in a folder. And then for the ones going forward, the first place to go to, what I did is to go to Google Forms. I recreated the paper using Google Forms. Some I used spreadsheets. Spreadsheets. Use spreadsheet or your Excel. Don't forget that those forms, they also just, when you download them, all the information gets into an Excel sheet for you. For like the requisition form, because it needs multiple signatures, I did an Excel sheet. So once the line manager fills it, they just pass it on. Each person signs, and then it's put in the HR file. For your your application forms, Google Forms is good to go. Your onboarding forms, Google Forms is good. I use Google Forms. For surveys, I've used quite a number of them. Google Forms sometimes. It depends. You can also have some collaborative tools, or you can go to, I use Question Pro on and off. It's free. I use the free version. Those ones actually help me with the anonymous surveys. I use Question Pro when I want the employees to actually know that their voices are being heard, and then there's confidentiality. I hope that helps. Yes,
Okay,
someone said Survey Monkey. Good. Yes.
we go back to Kate Ainsley quickly. 1 minute.
Okay. All right, 1 minute. Thank you. I was asking a question about the NHF, and I said, yes, we know that NHF is no longer compulsory, but I didn't communicate it to my team members. I didn't communicate to the entire staff, just my colleagues within the HR department. So because you mentioned it, so I'm asking, is this something I have to go back to the organization and tell everybody the NHF is no longer compulsory, so we are no longer going to be deducting it from your salaries and all that? Or whoever wants it to be deducted should let us know.
Yes, option B works. So you have this knowledge. Management might not have the knowledge. That's why you're HR. You must tell them what is now obtainable. They might decide, oh, let's just take it off. It's fine. But make sure the employees also know that, okay, this is no longer compulsory. If you want to take it off, no problem. But it means that quota will now be taxed. So will it go to taxes, or would they rather have it go to the NHF? It's their choice now. You need to communicate that.
I hope you'll be ready to answer what will happen to the NHF they've already contributed to. I'll take a risk. JUO. Can you please make your contributions?
Okay, thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, sir. Good evening, Dara. Thank you so much for the presentation. I was actually on transit while listening, and I tried as much as possible to grasp a lot that you said. So thank you very much. Someone has already asked one of the questions I intended to ask. How do you transition from fully paper system to paperless system? Actually, when I came into the organization, I observed that documentation was a challenge. Like, we have paper system, like it's crazy that even when you've applied online, you sent it for approval, you still need to print it and carry the physical paper to the person to approve physically. So yeah, so I found out that it's more about the top management. Like, that's how they've always done it over the years. So it's quite difficult for them to transition into online systems. So what I'm working on is to start from my space, that's my HR space, to digitalize my process first, because it's really, really crazy. The paper thing is so crazy. So I think you've already responded to that question. Thank you very much. My next question is, what do you do when you keep interviewing for a particular role over and over and over again, and the candidates you're interviewing for that particular position, their salary expectation is higher, way higher than your budget for the role? Companies have structures now. So in the structure of that organization, that particular role is classified as a junior role. That means the pay will not be high as compared to a senior role. But the candidates you're interviewing for, they are in a senior level role. So these particular positions, we've been interviewing candidates since last year, and we've not gotten a suitable person. We've been getting qualified candidates. It's just the salary that is the issue. So what do we do as an HR? Like, what do I do as a recruiter now, interfacing with the head of HR, who will interface with the management? Like, how do we manage this such that we get competent hands at a reasonable budget, and then it doesn't cause a internal grief among employees that have been in that same role over the years? That's one of my questions now.
Okay, so you have to look first. If you know that budget is an issue, you have to look at your hiring process. There's people that keep asking for way higher than what you can afford. What are their qualifications? Can you lower the qualifications? Is this a role that you can train somebody over time? Have you looked in-house yet? Or can you also revisit your salary structure if possible? Sometimes you just have to look inwards. What's our hiring process? These people, have you tried sourcing from other places? I mean, there are roles that, yes, that the norm could be 450K, but you find good talents that earn 150 that don't mind earning 300. if it's 300 that you can afford. Maybe you should widen your sourcing net. And another thing that you can do is put the salary expectation on the ad, so that the ones that earn way higher don't bother applying. The ones that it actually looks like what they can take home, they will apply. You get a more tailored application when you actually put the salary band in the ad. It will save you time. And so when somebody comes to say, oh, I can't earn 450, I have to earn 700, you tell them that was the salary was advertised. And even when you start the process interview, don't leave compensation to the end. Don't leave it till the tail end. You've had 3 levels of interviews. Okay, let's talk about compensation. And then you're offering 450, someone that earns 600. You've wasted your time and that person's time.
Fantastic. So let's quickly go to Oluwani. Oluwani.
Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Okay, good evening, ma'am. Good evening, Mr. Yemi. Thank you very much for this session. It was really insightful. I want to ask a question. So, you mentioned about starting up your HR department. So in my company where I work, it's a remote role, and I deal with, it's a startup. Let me lay emphasis on that. It's a startup and also a remote role. And coming in as an HR intern, they told me, okay, you're coming in as an HR intern. And when I got in, I found out that there was nobody to learn from. There was nothing to work with. So I was practically doing everything. And the person that was supposed to be the HR in quotes said she is not, that she is an EA. So that is not a job. So most times I feel like I don't know what to do, because the project manager would tell me, when I tell her what exactly am I supposed to do, she told me just take attendance for meeting, because we always have our daily scrum and sprint reviews. She told me just take attendance for the meeting, get reports. But I'm not feeling fulfilled, because I feel like I'm not doing anything. Anybody can actually do that. And I think the structure too, because like I mentioned, as an HR intern, so I don't know if I can actually talk to the CEO, because sometimes I get to talk to the CEO on some matters, like when he reaches out to me. So I don't know if it's something I can reach out to the CEO myself, because I feel like the so-called HR is not responding, and the so-called project manager too is also not responding. So do you think I can also, do you think I can reach out to the CEO myself as an intern? By the way, I am actually transitioning from an intern to like a full-time. But do you think I can actually reach out to the CEO to talk to him about HR structures or HR systems in the company? Thank you.
Okay. So it all depends on your reporting line. For you, I'd like to address you. You said you don't know what to do sometimes. You need to be sure about what you're doing first. You need to, aside taking, HR is not for taking attendance. I'm sorry, but I don't like hearing HR taking attendance during meetings or HRIT meeting notes, but it could be relevant to your own, to your reality now. You need to begin to show how competent you are. What are your reports like? Can you copy the CEO? Is it applicable in your organization? Going over your line manager, how will it fit? And there's someone that says that they call HR, and the person is not HR. You need to talk to the person first. Okay, in my tenure, during the period of applying, during the period of occupying this role, this is what I have discovered. This is where we are deficient, and this is the plan that I have. These are the things we need to do. That will also even strengthen their resolve to make you a proper HR officer. You need to let your work speak for you. You need to show them that you know your stuff. If you're thinking of how to gain competence, I know you said you're an intern, study. I transitioned to HR. I wasn't born in HR. I spent 6 years doing other things, doing customer service, doing quality management, doing all sorts, but I had transferable skills, transferable HR skills. I had to go back to school in the sense that I had to go and get my master's and do it in HR. Before I actually did a master's in HR, I went online to learn. I learned a lot. And by the time I went into the next organization where I actually began to practice HR, I was knowledgeable. I was junior, but very, very knowledgeable. So yes, you might be able to speak or maybe not, but you need to understand your organization. What are the politics being played there too? You need to show that you are actually knowledgeable. In meetings, what are you saying? Did they ask you for contribution and you say nothing? Not today. Before you get into meetings, preempt. What are the questions? How do I speak? Begin to be visible, because once you're visible, you can then tell them, this is the way to go. This is what I think. Please support me. This is where we should be. I hope that answers your question.
So we'll take the next two questions or comments together, and that will be all. Okay, I don't want to be sued by the INA family. Okay, I love
so somebody asked a question in the chat, but let's go ahead, please. Let's go ahead, please.
Blessing, quickly, 1 minute, or you'll be muted remotely.
Okay, thank you, sir. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Ma. I really enjoyed this section. Okay, my question, I have two questions. The first one is, I lack capacity in the sense that I just transitioned into HR, and I've been the one building myself. All the places I've worked, I've not really had let me say, like a head of HR. It's just been me trying to figure everything out. And most times it makes me doubt myself. Okay, I actually got this job. I got it last year, where my GM is an HR professional. He has been in that position over time, but I'm not really benefiting anything from him, in the sense that he wants me to like take decisions on my own, make these decisions on my own. And sometimes it's really overwhelming, in the sense that when I make these decisions, I need to defend and defend and defend and defend. Okay, talking about employees, it's an hospitality industry. You know, the kind of people in that industry, they can be very, very hard. So what do you advise I do? Because currently I'm the only HR there, and it's stressful. It's really stressful. That's one. Secondly, okay, something happened early this month, so we had to review the policy. There was a policy before I came in, and it's actually lacked a lot, so I had to review it, and we shared it for everyone to read and sign. Now it's time for them to submit the policy. Now the management said, if they don't sign on the shared policy, if they don't submit it, there will not be salary for them. And now passing this information to them, it's somehow for me, telling them, if you don't sign. And the last time we had meeting, I just brought it up, and they said they need to speak to their lawyers first before signing. So what do you advise I do in this situation? Thank you.
Oh, okay. We're taking to. I've listened to you, Blessing. I'll answer your question. Oluwatoyin, we're taking your questions together.
Okay. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, please. Go ahead.
All right. Okay. So I left banking in January, trying to transition into the HR field. So the last 2 roles, I did an internship, remote internship in February, and I'm currently volunteering for a remote startup. Is a remote role for a startup company, so they don't have a structured HR department. But the peculiar thing about it is their employees are across different countries. So I'm wondering if there are any key things that I should take note of in structuring the department. That's all.
Okay, so I'm going to touch the questions very, very quickly, and I hope I don't forget any part of it. So for the first person that asked the question, I can actually hear the overwhelm in your voice. I can feel it. And there's something you said. You started with, I lack capacity. I don't want you to tell yourself that. You say, I'm building capacity. And from what I can hear you say, your GM is actually an HR person. So you have good oversight. Just that his or her leadership style might be quite heavy-handed for you. He wants you to take decisions. You're blessed. Not all HRs have the benefit of taking decisions. Not all. Some are very, very much micromanaged. So what will help your overwhelm is have a sounding board. Don't do HR alone. Don't do HR alone. Reach out to other seniors in the HR industry. Talk to people. That will help you deal with the overwhelm. I have sounding boards. I talk to them. See, HR work is hard. It's hard. It's difficult because sometimes it goes against your own intellect, what you would normally do. You have to check the laws, you have to check ILO, you have to check, go online, check the industrial court cases, because you need to advise management on the right way. So I have sounding boards, I talk to people. Sometimes we cry as HR people. You don't know, we cry now, but you don't cry for everybody, you cry in your bedroom. You keep quiet. And then you stand up and then you go ahead and you slay dragons. And then for changing policies and telling them that your salaries, you cannot touch salaries. Oh, this is where you speak as HR. The industrial court is very, very active now. Don't get sued. They are talking about lawyers. We have to prefer recommendations to management. That okay, let's give them a timeline. Let there be a timeline. There should be, look for another sanction aside salaries. Look for another sanction. We shouldn't touch salaries. Even when you're trying to suspend somebody, after 2 weeks, you have to pay the person. You can't even suspend without pay if it goes on for after 2 weeks or so. So look for other sanctions than salaries. They've worked for it. For me, what I do is I put a timeline, a cap. We need to submit this acknowledgement form by so, and then I put a sanction there. Then you might even talk about bonuses. You can, and as people are actually submitting, give them thumbs up on the group. Acknowledge them. Oh, thank you for submitting. That's what I do. Once I put something out and then somebody submits, I go and give them a thumbs up on the group. The way they will rush to submit because they want their name to be called too. Oh, well done, received. They want it. That's motivation. That's how to motivate them. But touching of salaries, I don't recommend. You just have to prefer solutions to management. Look for what is applicable because you prefer solutions. The management says touch salaries. It's not your job. It's not your work. You have to do what they say, but make sure that you have told them and they are aware that you spoke. By spoke, I mean, put it in writing, email your recommendations. For the other person that spoke about different industries, please, you need to build yourself up. Build yourself. You need to know what is applicable in different industries. It might not be even so much. There might not be so much differences, but things like the salary structure could be different. So you cannot have the same salary structure for an aviation firm, same as a tech firm. It's not possible. For aviation, the senior manager can earn maybe 450K. For a tech firm, that's like starting salary for your engineers. You can't say the manager in this aviation or whatever industry is earning 450K. So a tech guy of maybe 3 years or 5 years should earn 450K. You will get dinosaurs. So you just need to be sure of the fine lines and make sure you're not overstepping. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Please quickly glance through the chat box in case there's any message or comment or thought you want to respond to. We have 2 more minutes to go. Otherwise, you can share your closing remarks. So let me once again thank you so much, Madam, for your brilliant contributions. This has been the best 2 hours in the last few days for some of you. Thank you for your magnanimity, for sharing out of your wealth of experience and also out of your wealth of knowledge. I don't know if you have any closing remarks so that we can say good night.
Oh, okay. Just I'd like to say thank you to everyone on the call. I saw that 1 or 2 of my work colleagues joined and dropped a comment. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the support. I'm happy to have met everyone on the call. We can, and thank you, Mr. Adeosun. Thank you for this platform. I really don't take it for granted. If you want to connect with me, you can find me on LinkedIn Indirected messages, IME. And for those asking for an HRIS, there are lots and lots and lots out there. But my firm, StarGuide, also offers some, but this is not a platform for commercializing. I don't think it's allowed here. So just reach out to me and then I can put you through. Thank you so much, Mr. Adeosun, and thank you, HRMentorship. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.